Hello guys, in our previous lesson we discussed CSS width and height. In this lesson we are going to discuss CSS margin and padding. Yes, CSS margin and CSS padding. So now CSS margin are padding and padding are CSS properties used to specify spaces outside an element or inside an element. That is, the CSS margin is used to specify space within, the CSS margin is used to specify space outside an element, while the CSS padding is used to specify space inside an element. Here now, I will erase the image src source. So now I'll give the header a background color. I'll give the header a background color of let me give it a background color of blue. Yes, the header. Then specify the header, a background color of blue, background color of blue. Or let me just, okay, blue is okay. So now that is that. So now we have some element within this header. We have navigation bars. So inside the navigation bars, we have hyperlinks. And now let me save the file. Let me save the file and let's reload in the browser. Let's reload in the browser. So you can see how close everything is. Even the links, the element, you can see that we have blue background. Yes, that's fine. But this element is too close and it looks messy. Now, to change that, we can apply margin and padding. You can apply margin and padding. So this is how margin works. For margin, let's say I want to give this header more margin. Yes, I want to give you more margin in the sense that the element underneath, we have a very intense distance between the element underneath the header. So now I want to do that by setting margin. And the second thing is I want to bring this header down to the downward a little bit. So margin, whenever you specify margin here, whenever you specify margin here, it has four things or four. It can be specified in four ways. You can specify the margin top. You can specify the margin left. You can specify the margin right, and you can specify the margin bottom. But whenever you are using margin, only margin here, you can specify both the top, right, down, and bottom at the same time. What you just have to note in mind is top come first. Whenever you specify margin, top come first. So I want to give it a margin of 50 pixel, and margin here is the unit mostly used is pixel, just like width and height. You specify some units in we discuss some units in pixel and then in width and height. So same here as margin. They share the same unit. You can use the anyone you feel like either is relative or absolute. So 50 pixel from the top, 5 pixel from the right, top first, right second, bottom third. Then let me see, I want to use 100 pixel. Though it's not practically okay to set this kind of margin whenever you are building a real world application. But what I'm trying to say, for the sake of this tutorial, I just want you to see the effects of margin. That's why I'm using that kind of value, 100 pixel. You shouldn't do that in real world projects. Then after bottom, we have left. So the left value, let's specify that as well as 5 pixel. So you're going to see the effect of margin now. See the effect of margin now. So let's save and let's reload. You can see so you can see the distance between the header, which is the blue background, and the H1. Can also see the distance. There are some set of distance specified at the top. You also have 5% from the left, 5%, 5 pixels from the left, 5 pixels from the right. So there, it will leave some spaces outside the element. Outside the element, it will leave spaces according to the value which is specified for margin. So here I can say, so now let me remove all the ones specified earlier. I can say margin top. If I want to specify margin for only the top, I can say margin top 20 pixel, margin bottom, margin bottom, margin bottom 40 pixel. That's too much, but for the sake of this tutorial, just to see the effect of margin, margin left 4 pixel, margin right. That's how it works, margin right. But if you want to use shorthand, in CSS, there are some things we call shorthand. You don't need to worry yourself much on writing a long code just like the way I'm doing now. What you just have to do is just specify the property once, like margin like this. Then to specify the dimension for the four sides. Top come first, then followed by the right, followed by the bottom, then last one is the left. So that's how it is done. So now, if you want to specify different margin value for the four sizes, you use margin top for top, margin bottom for bottom, margin left for left, and margin right for right. So now let me save this quickly and reload so that we can move on to padding. Yes, this is applied. So now let's move on to padding. Yes, padding is also part of CSS properties used in dimensioning. Here now, as you can see, the element within the header is just so close, and it looks ugly. Yes, we want to leave some spaces within the header element, some spaces so that any element you have in the header, there will be some spaces around. Yes, just get that clear. There will be some spaces around and within that header element. So within the header element, let me specify some padding. See what I'm talking about now. So padding top, let me give it a padding top of 20 or 30 pixel, padding top of 30 pixel, then padding right of 10 pixel, padding bottom of 10 or 20 pixel. That's too much. I'm just trying to use this type of value so that you see the effect. But in real world application, please don't specify this kind of values because that's too much. So padding left will be 15 pixel. So now let's save the document and let's reload in the browser and let's see if that should work. Yes, that is that. You can see the effect of padding. Within the element, you have some spaces within the element. So that's how padding works. So now what I'm going to specify now is I'll specify the shorthand for padding. So now to specify all these values separately, I will start with padding top, padding top. The padding top, let's specify it as 25 pixel, padding left or padding right as 15 pixel, padding left, padding bottom as 10 pixel, then padding. Let me save that and let's reload in the browser. Yeah, it works. Yeah, it works. So that is that on padding and margin. Yes, that's that on padding and margin. Yes, and you'll be using it most of the time in your projects. Whenever you want to apply CSS, you'll be using it most of the time. Yes, it's so much applicable. So, and the margin and padding is also CSS properties which shares units with width and height. Yes, you have to get yourself familiar with units mostly used in CSS dimension from absolute to relative units. Yes, so that is that on CSS margin and padding. Thank you very much.